Hey guys, it's been a bit since I've been able to do a video. Just been busy with work and stuff like that, so it's been crazy, but I wanted to get this video up because a subscriber has asked me about tuning and what the dip. Let's start with this video is going to be kind of about tuning and the basics of the beginnings of tuning. So I'm going to start with the diffs because he was asking what the difference is between the diffs and how to tune them and stuff like that. So I'm going to start by the first diff that we have here is a Kyosho ball diff. And then this is an MR04 that has the factory diff in it. And then this is an atomic, which this one has a little bit of a different diff in it. And we'll get to that when I start to explain about it. So most of you guys that are starting out with Mini Z, we'll start with the Kyosho diff that comes in the car in the box stock cars. So it is a gear diff with plastic gears in it, and really there isn't a lot you can do tuning wise on this diff. The one thing that we do for racing here is there's a C-clip on the end, and then you can open the diff up. I go in there, and a lot of the guys go in there and it's just a small amount. You use a toothpick and you just put a dab of grease on each one of the gears. And what that enables the diff to do is not unload when you go through corners. So it keeps the wheels planted better. I use 30,000 Kyosho grease to do it. You can experiment with it and go lighter or heavier. The big thing is you just don't want to put too much in there, because then the guys at the track will get mad at you because it spits that grease out the side and it'll get all over the track. So that's really about it that I can tell you about tuning on that diff, because there isn't a lot you can do with it. Now on the ball diffs, these are adjustable. So obviously they call them a ball diff because they have balls in there instead of the gears. So this is your adjustment nut here on the back end of it. And what I do to set my ball diffs is, I'm fortunate enough to have a track here in my garage. So what I will do is loosen the diff up, put it down, and see if the car moves. If the car moves, then but it doesn't have the acceleration like I want, I will start to tighten this nut up like a quarter turn at a time. And then I take it until the car starts or has the tendency to want to spin out when you hit the throttle kind of hard. When it gets to that point of it wanting to spin out, or it does spin out, then I start backing off of it just a tiny bit at a time until the car quits spinning out and the acceleration is good. So I mean, it takes a little bit of practice to get used to doing it, but once you've done it once or twice, it's not a big deal. You'll get to where you like the feel of the way it handles. And then you can always, on certain tracks, you got more or less traction when you're racing, so you may want to tighten it up a little bit to get it better, or you may loosen it up a little bit to get it better because the track has more traction than the track you normally run on. So now I'm going to switch these around because Atomic does kind of a hybrid diff. So the diffs in these cars, it is a gear diff in there, but what these cars have, and I'll pull the wheel off to show you. Let's see, let's pull the rear wheel off. So what the Atomic diffs have, and you can see it here, I have the aluminum ones. It's really the only way to get them is the aluminum shoes anymore. You can't, they used to make a plastic set, but they've been discontinued. I don't know if they were wearing out too fast or people were breaking them. So they went to the aluminum. And what this is a set of shoes that slips in there, and it has a band on it. And how you adjust the diff for the acceleration and stuff that you want is they make a kit that has interchangeable bands that go on there, and some are stiffer, some are softer, and it's another thing where you just have to play with it and get it to where you like it and you like the feel of the way the car is handling. And there are a lot of guys, believe it or not, that run these LSD diffs without the shoes in them. They just run them as a gear diff, and guys do really well with them. So it's just a kind of a preference thing on the diffs. It's really hard to tell me you should be this tight on the diff or this loose, because it's so hard to because of the difference in driving style, from the way I drive to the way you drive or the other guys drive, stuff like that. So it's a personal preference thing, and you'll get it. You just need to kind of experiment and play with it a little bit, and you'll get it. Fine. At one point you'll say, oh, it's perfect right there, and then you know, and then from there you kind of have a starting point on where you can go with your diffs as a starting point, and then just adjust them from there. And it just becomes kind of a habit once you learn how to do it. Now, like, and then there's certain classes and stuff where, like, we here at our local track, we run the essentially rules based on the 28 SRA rules. So, like, there's certain classes where you can't run a ball diff and you have to run the Kyosho gear diff out of the box, and then there's other classes where you can run a 64 pitch ball diff instead of a 0.5 mod. This diff here that I have on the table is a 0.5 mod for Kyosho. That's like just an upgrade, which is a direct replacement for this diff that comes in the box stock cars. But it's illegal to run a ball diff in like the box stock class that we have and some of the other classes. So I usually try to keep a couple of each on hand. Sometimes the Kyosho stuff is hard to get. So, and the other question that the subscriber had was how to tune the rear shock. So I'm gonna grab another car here to show you the difference in, I mean, the basics are the same on them, but they look a little bit different. So let me bring this one out. So this is my F1 car. This is a PN 3.0 chassis. And this one runs a 2500 kV brushless motor and stuff in it. The PN cars are a little bit different because they run two 1S batteries on each side versus just a regular 2S battery, like most of them run across the middle and stuff. So, but anyway, the main reason why I brought this car out is this car has a dual spring PN rear shock on it. So when you're adjusting these, this rear spring here adjusts how much suspension, like how stiff the rear pod suspension is on the back end of the car. So it essentially adjusts the stiffness here. This spring in the front adjusts like how fast the suspension comes back to the stock after you go through a corner or whatever. So the suspension is going to move when you go through a corner. So and this is, I call it spring back. There's probably a more like better name for it, but that's what this spring essentially does. So again, if you're running a shock like this, it comes down to feel. You can get you can get spring kits for these to change them, stuff like that. Like one of the things that I do is when I'm running a car, a lot of times if you've got too much traction, it's going to give you what the bad tendency that the cars give me is that the rear end will hop on the back. So when you go around the corner, the rear end's hopping because the suspension's pushing down too hard on the tires on the track, and it's getting too much traction. So when it does that, what I do is soften it up. So you can adjust it, like I said, with the springs if you want to, or you can, some of them have an adjustment to where you can put a shim in there, or it's got a twist dial. And then usually your last option is to go to a softer spring. You can usually get it adjusted with the adjustment screws on the front and in the middle to get it set where you want it to be. And that's really about it on that. Again, you know, if the tendency is for the car to hop on the back end, which is usually what happens with me, if I've got too much traction, I will just start backing off a little bit until that tendency stops, and usually stay right there. Now, on my Atomic, this has a Next Racing dual spring setup on it, which is the same setup. It just looks different because it has a small internal spring up here in the cap, but the basics are the same. It does the same thing. You can adjust you can change out the spring there to make it softer, stiffer, whatever you want it to do, so the car handles the way you want it to. And again, this is just a personal preference thing for your driving style and things like that. It's hard to give somebody like a basic setup because if you're racing, all RCP tracks are different no matter where you're at. So mine's different here when I run in my garage and practice versus our club track. It's different. So you do minor adjustments and stuff like that, but you can get it pretty close. Like I get my stuff close here on my garage track, and then I'll fine tune it a little bit when I get to the track if something's changed major. And then the last one I'm going to go over is the box stock, because a lot of people have box stocks. Like our club, I'm kind of back and forth with our local club because they're not running a lot of box stocks and stuff anymore. They're more into the lipo cars, and they're just so much more expensive that it kind of eliminates the beginners out of it, because the cars are more expensive, they're harder to drive, it's more complicated to set up, stuff like that. I really like running box stock, so we got a 28 SRA race that we're hosting here in April, and the first class I signed up for was box stock because it's one of my favorite classes to run, because it don't matter on the chassis or the car or whatever. It's like its driving ability to win. So anyway, on these cars, you just have a single spring in here, and Kyosho makes a dampener spring set that you get the springs in different colors. And so you can, like, if it's hopping in the back end, that means it means your spring is too stiff back here. So you can go softer. They're color coded, so you can try the different colors to get the bad habits out of the car. And then one other thing that you can do, I don't do it much, but some guys do. If you go up inside this spot right here where, like, they're hollow on the end, and there's if you put a small Phillips screwdriver in there, there's a screw in there, and you can back the actual shock shaft in and out, and it's going to adjust your ride height a little bit, but you can also, like, use that to soften it up or stiffen it up. You don't want to go too tight because you'll break this ball end right here by trying to force the screw too far into it. And you don't want to go too far out, because if you go too far out, you'll get too much play in the end here, and you'll take the chance of it, like, vibrating the rest of the way out when you're running a race. So it just, again, it's personal preference to dial it in the way you want it and get it set up right. So, and I know this is just kind of a basic go through on these things, I mean, if you got more technical questions about it and I can help you, just message me in the comments and let me know. I run more now of the LM style cars as far as box stock goes. I really like the way that, for my driving style, I really like the way that the 102 millimeter chassis handle versus the 98. I still have a couple of 98s that I run in between and stuff too. But anyway, I just wanted to get this video up. I'm racing oval today, this afternoon, and I wanted to get this video up before I head out to the race for today. So hopefully this helps, and it gives some of you guys the information that you guys need on how to do some basic setup on the car. A lot of it, like I said, is personal preference. You'll play with this or play with that, and all of a sudden the car just seems to fit you so much better. So I will probably end this one here, and if, like I said, if you guys have questions, just let me know and I'll help you with the questions as best I can. I got a couple of other projects I'm working on right now that I'm getting excited about doing videos on, but we will wait for another day for that, because it's they're a little bit more complicated than this stuff. And one of the subscribers, like I said, he's been wanting me to do a video on this for a bit, so I wanted to get this video up and have it ready to go for him so he can fine-tune his car and do what he needs to do. So you guys have happy racing. If you guys are racing, if you guys are just bashing with these, then have fun with that, and hopefully these tuning tips help. So we will talk to you in the next one.